everyone, I welcome you to another video by Legacy IAS. Here we're going to talk about an important event that's happening in the world, that's happening in Uzbekistan, where our Indian Prime Minister is present with a lot of other important people, including the Foreign Minister. So here we're going to talk about in this particular video the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, an organization which is, and the way it has come out, the way the meetings are unfolding, it is truly coming across as a non-Western voice. So in the backdrop of the time when the entire world is shifting its focus towards Asia and the countries of Asia, the economies, the development, the population, this particular organization is coming out as a really important platform to voice such non-Western voices. So in this video, we'll discuss all the different aspects of it. To begin with, let us understand that this particular SCO was something which was set up in 2001 as a political organization with economic priorities and some security aspects as well, in order to rival the Western institutions. All right. So it comprises of China, India, Pakistan, Russia, and some of the ex-Soviet Central Asian republics, Central Asian nations of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. Now, as far as India is present at this particular SCO summit, so Prime Minister Modi reached the venue for the SCO Council of Heads of States meeting. All right. So when the leaders are there, so Prime Minister is representing India, and he reached actually pretty late. Some say it was basically to avoid any kind of inconvenient photo meetings with the photographs with the Chinese or the Pakistani leadership. So India and China and India and Pakistan also have of late not had a very great relations and direct comfortable talks. So probably it was to avoid such kind of uncomfortable and awkward photo sessions with the Chinese or the Pakistani leadership, because of which Indian president, Indian leadership reached late at that particular venue. Some of the events which were missed out by the Indian Prime Minister because of this late arrival was a pre-summit dinner which was hosted by the Uzbekistan president. A tree planting activity was also being done by the leaders, and several bilateral meetings were also held. Now, when India has arrived on the occasions and it has participated in the meetings, it has made some comments. The Prime Minister has made some comments with regards to India at the SCO, what it feels on certain areas. So one of the areas where India spoke was that how India is going to be, or India aspires to be, a next manufacturing hub. Okay. So here we are going to also talk about the initiatives which have taken. First, if we look at the supply chain, on that, Prime Minister said that SCO can really play a constructive role, especially in the post-COVID era, where we're trying to bring in economic recovery for both the developed as well as the developing nations, and strengthen our supply chains, which were actually getting majorly affected because of the COVID restrictions. Okay. So in such situations, how do we make our supply chains resilient? That was one of the attempts, or that was one of the points made. Also, there was a focus on people-centered growth, how technology can be very important to bring in this kind of a people-centric growth. On food security, Prime Minister said that it is important to address the different challenges which arise out of food security, and in this regard, India has come up with its solution of millets. So millets is a superfood which of course has been there for lot of years, and not just areas of or not just the countries of the SCO, but several parts of the world consider it as a traditional yet extremely nutritious and low cost alternative. So it has the ability to provide the nutrition at a low cost, and which can really help in helping with the food crisis situation, especially in, let's say, areas like Afghanistan, who are really troubled with such issues. So the year 2023 has actually is supposed to be celebrated as the UN International Year of Millets. Also, there could be a proposal of Millet Food Festival under the banner of the SCO, which could be organized. So there's a lot of focus which Prime Minister is making on how millets can be a source of food security. There was also focus on improving transit and connectivity. And of course, here Prime Minister was referring to Pakistan, that how it's really important to grant transit rights to the member nations of SCO. All right. So on technology and innovation, especially in Make in India initiatives, Prime Minister mentioned that there are over 70,000 startups which have come in this particular sector, which is trying to bring about this people-centered development through the use of technology. So there's a lot of support that is being given on innovation in every sector, right? India is also known for medical tourism and how it is the destination for all, medical and wellness tourism across the globe. So in this regard, India intends to take an initiative for an SCO working group on traditional medicines, right? Generic drugs and as well, but traditional medicines for which India is known, like Ayurveda. All right. So in April 2022, the WHO also inaugurated its Global Center for Traditional Medicines in Gujarat. There's been a lot of focus, and India has been at the forefront in this particular popularizing of such traditional medicines. This was actually the first and the only global center for WHO's traditional treatment. So that is something that's very significant. So India has really made a lot of important points as far as India's position in the SCO is concerned, what it expects to get out of it, what are the areas of focus that India wishes to do as far as the organization is concerned. Now, as far as SCO is concerned, it's very important for a country like Russia in present times. It is, according to the Russian president, the presence of all these members in such a forum is actually a expression of how you're disapproving the economic sanctions and the unilateral sanctions which have been brought on Russia. All right. So how the United States and the European Union have lobbied against it and really gone and affected or tried to affect the Russian economy and society. So what Russia is trying to say that this kind of summit is basically showing that Russia has not been fully isolated in spite of all the Western efforts that have been put. In fact, the fact that the venue has been chosen in such a way and the presence of all of these people shows that people are, or rather these countries are also looking at an alternative to the Western dominated international institutions. So this particular summit is significant and especially important for a country like Russia. In fact, China has also come out all in support of Russia. So the Russian president says that it appreciates the balanced approach that China has brought in towards the Ukrainian crisis. All right, Chinese press in Russia also has backed China on Taiwan in this regard. China said that it is really making all the efforts to show that Russia can really play a great role in the present scenario and bring about some kind of stability. Russia has reciprocated such by backing China on issues of Taiwan, where it says that it condemns the provocation of the United States and their satellites on the Taiwan Strait. So both of them are supporting each other's endeavors, and both of them are anti-Western in terms of their approach. In fact, Chinese president made a very strong statement with regards to this obsession of forming smaller circles in global politics, and he was here referring to Quad. That quadrilateral alliances and such small groupings basically just try to create more hostilities in the world than bring them together. So it's important to come back to the UN principles of multilateralism. So it's kind of very strange, all these statements that China always ends up making on multilateralism, on things like Quad, but when it has issues like Taiwan, then it talks of sovereignty. Chinese president here also offered to train about 2,000 security personnel from these countries and come up with something of a China SCO base in order to train the people, in order to train the personnel for counter-terrorism, against counter-terrorism. All right. China is also interested in providing humanitarian support in the form of grains and other supplies to the different developing countries and also the members of SCO. So China's here is trying to take a very strong footing. It's trying to come out as an alternative to the Western world. In all of this, we have another country who's benefiting from this particular summit and the recent developments is the nation of Iran, who has signed a memorandum of obligations in order to become a permanent member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Remember, Iran is also a country who's been troubled with Western sanctions, whose oil diplomacy has basically been severely affected by this kind of a situation. So it is also coming together at an organization which has a non-Western voice. All right. So according to the foreign minister, it's this kind of cooperation seeks to overcome economic isolation amidst the US sanctions. By signing the document for full membership of the SCO, Iran has basically entered into a new stage where it can enhance or expand its economic, commercial, transit, and energy cooperation and also its priorities. So, Russia Iran ties have also kind of increased in the backdrop of all these Western sanctions which are happening. So, this kind of an organization, the meeting here is actually giving us an idea or a reflection that to what extent today the West is having its control, its clout, its influence. Are these alternative institutions, very non-Western institutions, also coming up and gaining a lot of attention, especially when it has countries like Russia and China? So we look forward to what the other meetings of this SCO will unfold and how will it see, how will it take it forward, and what will the United States and other Western European countries are going to react to this situation. So I hope you've enjoyed this particular video. Thank you so much.